Now, Representative Mia Love of Utah, she's an African-American representative in a very conservative state. She is a Republican, and she stopped by Fox and Friends to talk to Kimberly Guilfolye about, not just about Ted Cruz, but about media, liberal media in general, and she had this to say.
So listen, you had to go through this when you were interviewing after you won a fantastic election, some of the reaction from the mainstream media, some of the liberal media. Tell us how that impacted you.
It's par for the course. I mean, are we surprised that the mainstream media is going to, bash a conservative? It's just par for the course. That you just have to ignore it and continue to go and represent people. And I certainly try to do that every day for the state of Utah.
Here's what I love. The fallacy that there's a liberal media. Ironically, on Fox. Now, here's what they say. Oh, the liberal media is picking on Ted Cruz. Not exactly true. There are conservative media outlets that are also talking about Ted Cruz and his unelectability, right? You've got the Wall Street Journal publishing op-eds saying that, no, Ted Cruz, totally not the guy. Like, the money is not there. The money's not going to support him. Of course, that's all that matters to the Wall Street Journal and a lot of conservative publications, right? It's all about the money. So here's that hilarious fallacy that we have some sort of liberal media being told on Fox, which, by the way, Fox likes to tout how they are the #1 media source. And they would be right. They crushed the demos. Now, of course, they crushed the demo among TV viewers, which is a shrinking demographic. But among TV, because right now TV is still king, they hold the coveted demographics, and they also hold the demographics of most older people. You remember the average age of the Fox News viewers around 60, 70 years old. So, and of course, those are the only people with enough time to sit there and watch cable news all the time. So let's be fair about that. But nonetheless, they love to tout how they are the biggest, the #1 media, Fox News. But wait, if you're #1 on media, #1 on television, then how can there be a overwhelming liberal media? If you're #1, if you're crushing on all the ratings, how can you claim that there is a liberal media that has taken over? Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense now, does it? But here we go with that whole liberal media fallacy. But that's not the only thing that they talked about. They also talked about what Mia Love would want to see in a president, and how what we have right now in Barack Obama is too much divisiveness. Let's take a listen.
I want a president who is going to focus on a positive agenda that's going to unite the party and unite Americans. I think what we need to do as Americans is make sure that anyone who's going to divide us based on race, income level, social status, who's not going to talk about the issues, the fiscal issues that our country faces, we should reject that person and look for someone who is going to unite us as Americans and really talk about some of these fiscal issues that we face as a country.
Now here's where she sounds somewhat reasonable, but actually she's not. So she says, well, we don't want to pick somebody who's going to divide us by race, class, socioeconomic status. That's great. I would love that. Only the problem is that we are divided by race, class, and socioeconomic status. It's undeniable. We live in America. We live in a melting pot of different cultures, different backgrounds, different ethnicities, and that's one of our strengths. One of our strengths is that we can draw on the diversity of many different backgrounds and also borrow ideas from other cultures and sort of assimilate it, Americanize it, right? That's what we do with a lot of things, what we've done with a lot of things, right? Now, within that system, we have, of course, division. That's only natural that we're going to have divisions along some lines. And to a point, that's fine. There also comes to a point of where there's too much division, right? Too much division among socioeconomic classes and race. And actually, those two are kind of linked. See, people that are in a lower socioeconomic status more often happen to be those who are minority. And, that's important. And another thing is that she says she wants to focus on fiscal issues, right? Now, fiscal issues ties into socioeconomic status, ties into race as well. Income inequality. that also ties in. A lot of people who are lower, the 99%, we're made up of a lot of different people, right? The 1%, I think it's majority white Wall Street businessmen. Now, there's some minorities sprinkled throughout there as well, which is great. I don't begrudge anybody their wealth. I think that you should have the same opportunity to get wealthy as anybody else, regardless of your race. And I shouldn't even have to say that. That should be, everybody should know that. Everybody should feel the same way. Like, hey, it doesn't matter if you're black, white, Asian, whatever. You should all have the same opportunity. And that's the problem, is that we're not creating that opportunity for people of color, for minorities. That's one of the major problems. And she says, well, we can't talk about it, essentially. That's the conservative line, is that we can't talk about race. We can't talk about discrimination. We can't talk about anything in the system. We can't talk about that. Because that's dividing Americans by race, socioeconomic status. We have some serious issues with income inequality and racial division. And just because we have a black president, and just because we can elect black governors, black representatives, such as Mia Love, doesn't mean the problem of racism doesn't exist. Doesn't mean that there isn't something endemic in the system that makes it more difficult for people of color to make it. Now, Mia Love, I've went after her before because of her whole idea of, her whole attitude of, well, I made it through all this. Why can't you? You just have to work hard. But there are some people that no matter how hard they work, they're stuck because they don't have opportunity. They have the drive, they have the work ethic, but no opportunity. And they say that they want to create more opportunity. How? You don't create opportunity by giving all the money to the rich, which is definitely the Republican platform, which is what the GOP is all about. Yeah, let's give tax breaks for the rich. Let's remove regulation. Let's stop any sort of protection for minorities and also for LGBT people, for the community, right? And somehow, opportunity doesn't happen. That's not reality. And when you ignore and don't talk about the issues of race or income inequality or socioeconomic status, when you ignore that, when you don't talk about that, you don't ever get anything done. And that's the thing. I think it is an important conversation that has to take place. And you can't just ignore it or wish it away.